Hello, everybody. Today we're going to do our best to review, I guess, a little bit of, well, not a little bit of it, but the whole thing as entire, because it's kind of a stand-up, but also kind of like a movie in a way. So we're going to review You're Welcome, America, A Final Night with George W. Bush, starring Will Ferrell. So it does say on Crave, it says Will Ferrell, You're Welcome, America, Final Night with George W. Bush. Same sort of thing. I guess it says one season, which is weird because they've actually comprised it into one full length feature film. So I don't really understand why it says one season on here, but anyway, maybe it came out as like a weekly thing when it was released in 2009. It's not rated because there were some edgy jokes in there. Let me tell you, I won't repeat some of them just because I can't. But I would say definitely go watch it because it is funny, and he must have done an awful lot of research into the life of George W. Bush because they knew stuff about like his. Now I can't say it's all true or not, but they knew a lot of stuff about like his home life, how many brothers and sisters he had. Now I'm sure he probably talked about this in real life too, but I was pretty young when George W. Bush was president, and in 2008 I would have been in grade 10 when he was finally coming out of his presidency, and Barack Obama would have been taking over at that point in time into his first term. So in 2000 I would have been, what, 7? So yeah, I wasn't even thinking about politics when I was a 7-year-old. I was out playing with Tonka trucks and stuff. Like, just wasn't even a thing that I would have even thought about back then, right? But yeah, overall, a really funny movie. He talks about going on I guess he was supposed to join the military, but he went AWOL, I guess. So he should have fought in the Vietnam War, I suppose. I believe that was one of the skits, uh, which was funny. And another one of the skits was him talking about, I believe he was actually talking about cheating on his wife with one of his, I think, secretaries. Uh, and he says, I love my wife, but what me and her had was raw and passionate, so on and so forth. So it was just completely goofy. And obviously the bit about Dick Cheney was completely funny too, when he's talking about them trying to get blame somebody for the events of 9/11, and then Dick Cheney goes in and creates his own research facility in the broom closet of the Pentagon, and then they finally find a link between Iraq and Al Qaeda, and they were talking about yellow cake uranium, and he thought it was birthday cake. And then when he goes to do the meeting, I guess, as to how they're going to basically start the war, he's talking as a robot, and then I guess he's jokingly said that Dick Cheney tranquilized him, and then when he wakes up, they've already got a plan. They said the meeting went super well, blah 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 blah. So that was funny too. I mean, overall, I thought he did a fairly excellent job of portraying George W. Bush. The accent was actually, now I don't know, I've heard Texas accents before. It wasn't the best Texas accent. You could still kind of tell it was Will Ferrell, but I mean, he did a pretty good job with like the walk and the talk. And I did like the fact that he incorporated other people into it, like having his security guard there, and the entrance to it was cool, with him helicoptering down into the stadium, and then he goes, "You gonna come back and pick me up later?" to the guy, and obviously they're not, because it's just Will Ferrell, right? But yeah, and then they had like an actual like serious moment because obviously George W. Bush had to pull the trigger on whether the war was actually going to happen or not, and he was the one to make the final call, right, as to them going over to actually fight for the country. after the 9/11 attacks, obviously. And so they did have a moment of silence because I think that was kind of needed, because that did happen during his presidency, right? So it kind of made sense for them to do that. But yeah, so I guess it was funny through most of it, and then it was also, I guess it also had some kind of real moments too, and probably some stuff that is true that some people didn't even know about, because this was actually done 7 months after George W. Bush was out of presidency. So I guess you get, and I didn't know this, I thought it was lifetime after you were president, but I guess it's only for 10 years. You get security detail for 10 years after you're president, which is something I didn't know. And it was funny, he actually even brought up the book that he was reading to the children during that day. And he said he just sat in silence for like 7 minutes straight. And one of the funnier bits was probably the security guard coming out in between hand and dancing to whatever song was on. And I think the best probably ones were the Eminem one, and what was the other one that they did where the pilot comes out too and dances in between, and then they bring somebody up on stage, and George Bush comes back out and goes, "What the fuck is going on here?" And then at the very end of the movie was funny too. I can't think of the name of the guy that he was with when he was AWOL, but he spent some time with him. So he kind of made the joke at the very end of the movie that he made sure that a marriage was between a man and a woman. And he said, "Not gonna lie though, I did enjoy my time with something Rothwell, was it? Oh, I wish I could remember. But it doesn't say. It was funny too, they even had like a guy in the crowd kind of like go back and forth between with them as well, and then throw the shoe, which was something that actually happened to George W. Bush when he was in office. So yeah, they really did incorporate quite a bit into it, and the changes of costumes were obviously funny, especially in the coat, when he came out with the coat and certain stuff. And I think probably the funniest bit was when he gave nicknames to people in the crowd. Oh my god. And then when he was trying to name a certain country, and then he just blatantly comes out and says the wrong word on purpose. And I don't know how many people actually caught on to that, but a few of them did. So, yeah. And he clearly didn't like the New York Times. That was for sure. And I guess it's not rated because there was, I mean, it wasn't actually nudity on stage, but there was a picture of something that I will let you go and enjoy for yourself, because I had to see it at least 3 times, I think, during the film. So, I'll just let you imagine what that could be a picture of. But yeah, I would say if you're a fan of Will Ferrell and you like his comedy, I think he's funny in most stuff that he does. I mean, I've liked him since Old School, and that was way back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, I think. I can't remember exactly when that movie came out, but it was quite some time ago. So I would say I would give this film like a 8.5 out of 10, because it was a stand-up routine, but it was also, kind of like, it was kind of weird to explain, because it was like you were almost living the life of George W. Bush, and he talked about like his mother and his father, and his 2 brothers, I guess, were also men of power at one point too. He talked about like his cabinet members, and then during the one sketch, the phone starts to ring, and he was talking about how it's like the phone that you never want to ring because you're going to be having a nuclear code, or you have to kind of like call in the big guns at that point, to say that we're ready for like actual nuclear warfare, and you never want to make that decision when you're in a presidency. So yeah, he did cover quite a bit. I don't want to say too much, and sometimes the stories kind of blended together, so I can't remember every little point detail. And I wish I could remember the name of the guy that he was talking about that he spent time with, but I can't remember. He says it at the end too. He was actually in the crowd, and he talked about listening to rap, and Common was in the crowd too, I noticed. So that was kind of funny that some of them were actually there to watch Will Ferrell do his little bit on George W. Bush. But anyhow, yeah, 8.5 I think is what I just gave it, right? I think, yeah, 8.5 out of 10 is what I'm going to give this film. And I will, as always, like, share, subscribe, and I guess if you've seen this film / stand-up bit, comment down below if you have, and if not, I would say go watch it, because it is a laugh. You do get a few laughs out of this for sure, especially if you know who some of the people are that he's talking about. It's even more funny. So yeah, I didn't know everybody he was talking about, but I knew a few of the names, so I did get quite a few laughs out of this. Yes. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.